of college football.
The longest, toughest postseason climb. And after all that, it's Ohio State together at the mountaintop.
That was fun. Let's do it again. To the end zone. Oh, wow!
You're out there with your friends playing every Saturday. What could get better than that?
This is as good as it gets. This is college football.
Don't want to hear no more talk. Let's do it. Exciting football on the way.
Well, college football is fast approaching, and we got a treat early with LSU traveling to face off against Clemson. Yesterday, LSU head coach Brian Kelly spoke on his early season focus.
I know Dabo very well and respect him and his program and the accomplishments they've had. But we've also been 0-3 in openers at LSU under my watch. And we needed to do some things differently this year. And that is embrace this opener and embracing it in a manner that this is a big game. And it's a tangible game for our football team to want to be 1-0. It's not let's warm it up into the season. We want to be ready for this football game. And so we're doing everything in our power to give our players the opportunity for that success.
The mouth of the South, Paul Feinbaum, is here along with Kevin Clark. Paul, do you like what Kelly had to say?
I do, and I think he had to say it. There have been some, Peter, who've wondered, like, what in the world is going on here? I mean, Evan, why would he double down? Why would he put pressure on himself? Because he has to put pressure on himself because there's going to be enough pressure on him anyway because of his record. Not so much the 0-3 in the opening game, but the fact that last year was such an abject mess, just all over the place. In fact, LSU probably should have lost 2 more games than they did. And Brian Kelly knows where he came from. Let's not forget, he was the head coach at Notre Dame, one of the biggest pressure cookers in the world. He went to LSU. Why? To win a national championship. He hasn't come close. He has produced a Heisman Trophy winner in Jayden Daniels. He got to the championship game. He beat Nick Saban in overtime in Tiger Stadium. But it's all about this year. Now, having said all that, I'm sure some of my friends up there with you are going to say Brian Kelly should be on the hot seat. I don't think he should for this reason. He is recruited at an elite level. He's got the #1 recruiting class in the country working on. He just landed the #1 recruit for next year's class. So outside of a disaster this year, which I'm not expecting, I think they'll make the CFP, he survives and he should.
Paul, quick follow-up on that. Recruiting in 2025, the coach gets credit or the boosters get credit? Because you just gave it to Kelly, correct?
Well, it's a combination. We've never been at a crossword like this, Evan, and the bottom line is that you need the boosters to recruit. You can have the greatest recruiter in the world, but if he doesn't have money, that means boosters. He can't do it. And I think Brian Kelly was stubborn a year ago. He did not spend a lot of money in the portal. This year, he spent enough money to supply the entire state of Louisiana in Tiger jerseys, and it paid off big time.
David Dennis Jr., did you like what Kelly had to say?
I mean, he has to say it. He has no choice but to say it. Look, I lived in New Orleans during the Les Miles years. I was listening to radio, and I was listening to Bobby Hebert and those guys talking about his job was on the line. If he didn't win the national championship, you lose to Alabama in the SEC championship, your job was on the line. So we're not going to have a situation where Brian Kelly thinks that he can come out here and have a season that's not somewhere along those lines where you're competing for a national championship. You're winning SEC championships, especially, as Paul said, when you have a possible Heisman level quarterback there and you have the top recruiting class. You need to go out there and win these games. This is not just about the first game and ramping up and all that stuff. You have to have sustained greatness for the entirety of this season. You have to go there and beat Alabama. You have to go there to the SEC championship. You have to be right there or near the championship, the national championship, to be considered a success right now. If you're Chip Kelly, it's been too many years and you have too good of a roster there right now to have anything less.
I'm going to start by saying I'm a little confused with Brian Kelly's comments yesterday, because you're saying, oh, you're embracing game one. You're treating it as a big game. You had Florida State twice in the opener, and then you had USC, premier programs. Were you spending all of July and August saying, it's okay, it's fine, we'll figure it out when we get there, no big deal? At least the first step is admitting you have a problem, okay? You have a week one problem, Brian Kelly. I'm glad to see that you've embraced that, as you said. But I don't know if there's any excuses for losing week one. I don't think it's just season defining. I think it's tenure defining in week one this year. They should beat Clemson. I know it's on the road, but they should beat Clemson. And I'm looking at this entire tenure, and I'm seeing a Heisman Trophy quarterback, and the problem is it was bad defense, bad defensive coordinator. Okay, you get the most expensive defensive coordinator in football. Okay, problem solved. Oh, then it's a personnel problem. Okay, now you're going out and getting top-of-the-line portal guys like A.J. Halsey from Houston. So now you have no excuses. This is about Brian Kelly, who left Notre Dame for LSU because of their recruiting footprint and the resources to win, as Paul said, a national championship. Guess who has their school on track to win a national championship? Marcus Freeman, the guy who replaced him at Notre Dame, which Brian Kelly didn't think was possible. That, to me, is why there's a sense of urgency, and that's why they have to win week one.
Paul, Kevin just said tenure defining, not season defining, week one against Clemson.
Yeah, I hate to go scorched earth on Kevin here, but that is truly one of the most remarkable comments I have ever heard from you, Kevin. I'm a fan. I think you're one of the smartest people on television, but you must have bumped your head on the way into the studio today. That game is not going to define anything in a 12-team playoff. That's what you have to remember. This isn't the old BCS where 2 teams make it, or even the 4-team playoff. I'm not saying it makes things easier, because the LSU fans are professional football fans. They follow the Saints and they follow LSU, and they do not differentiate because one is college and one is pro. So if he loses this game, which he has a good chance of doing, then he's going to face Florida in a couple of weeks. And if he loses that, then we're back here on First Take on Monday having a legitimate conversation about his future. But I think Brian Kelly knows what he's up against, and that's why he said what he did. He also has a great roster. You mentioned Nussmeier. Yes, he could be a Heisman contender. And by the way, wouldn't that be amazing if Nussmeier won the Heisman? That would be the 3rd LSU quarterback since 2019 to win the Heisman. Remember Joe Burrow, of course, Jayden Daniels. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just making a point that Kevin will probably make sometime later. But Kevin, you have to be realistic. You fire a coach just because he doesn't win the SEC, which very few people other than Nick Saban and Kirby Smart have done in the modern era. And where do you go? I'm not going to fight my own argument, but Les Miles, who's one of the biggest goofballs in the history of college football, won a national championship with Nick Saban's players. He did not win one with his own players, even though he should have won about 2 or 3. Ed Orgeron, I'm not sure I'd trust Ed Orgeron to run a convenience store. He won a national championship because he did have Joe Burrow and about 2 or 3 other future NFL wide receivers. I think Brian Kelly will get there, even if he doesn't get there on the opening, most defining weekend in college football, Kevin Clark game coming up in about a month.
Well, Paul just brought up a name that may hover over this entire season. He brought up the name of Nick Saban, and there's all kinds of conversation. I know that Kirby Smart was already asked about it today at SEC Media Days. He joked around that he already offered him Will Muschamp's analyst job. Like, it's already starting. So how far